The first question I wanted to ask is, how are you involved in the community?
I'm an academic advisor for the Office of Specialized Services. I'm also a member of the community, and then I am a wheelchair user myself. I've been at Renville for 14 years, and I assist students with helping the college provide them with what are called reasonable accommodations, which the college legally has to provide. But even beyond that, the college really includes having access to people with disabilities in our mission as well. So the college is really committed to this population.
So currently, what are the major issues that face the disability community?
Do you mean major issues in terms of college issues or major issues in terms of the bigger picture?
Definitely college, because it's primarily a student. It affects our demographic, but also just in a general sense, just primary issues that are facing the community as a whole.
Okay. Speaking about disability as a community can be difficult because it's such a diverse group of people.
Sure.
Somebody who's got a intellectual disability as compared to somebody who is deaf, their needs are going to be much different, and their concerns are going to be much different. So that's one of the hurdles faced by the disability community in itself, is that there's not a lot of coming together as a group, because disability can be so different depending on what your disability is. So that in itself can be problematic. But in terms of academic students that are college age, that are trying to get through college, and that's what I'm here to assist them with, I don't know if there's one universal problem. Students have different needs. We help students with every different type of disability. So it's, from my perspective, I guess the biggest challenge is to see that this population graduates. And the truth of the matter is that it really isn't a problem, because we have a very high graduation rate in specialized services for students that are affiliated. In fact, it's considerably higher than the general college's graduation rate. So I don't know I can't really categorize what their major problem is on campus. Maybe socially,
Sure.
Being accepted by the larger community, but again, that's going to vary depending on the disability. For students that don't have an apparent disability, they're of course going to blend a lot easier.
Right.
But for students who have a visible disability, it can be more problematic, or a visible difference.
On campus, are there groups as well as like clubs that are dedicated to those types of things, or because most clubs are just open to everybody?
Right. So therefore, students can join any club they wish. But in terms of having clubs correlated to disability, I run a small group for students affiliated with specialized services called Coalition. And we have, generally, 10 members that, let's say 5 are the frequent flyers and the people that come regularly, and the other 5 can vary. And it's just very social and casual kind of thing. In addition to that, the college does have a chapter of the Active Minds, which is a club that exists throughout the United States. There are different chapters of it, and Renville has its own chapter. And this isn't really necessarily for people who have disabilities. It's really an advocacy group for people that are in support of people who have mental illness and kind of destigmatizing mental illness. So in terms of clubs, that's really what we see in terms of disability. Back to the question beforehand for a second, in terms of problems facing people with disabilities. In terms of problems for the whole community in the larger sense, employment is huge. People with disabilities have the highest unemployment rate out of any other marginalized group. It's really, really high. Extraordinary. And of course the consequence of that, poverty. You don't have access to proper medical care, treatments that can really help you. All of that stems from not having any money.
From what you've noticed, what kinds of steps are being taken to resolve any of the issues you've mentioned, either locally that you know of, or even on an international level in a grander sense?
Well, in terms of employment, that's why we're here, because of course education is going to open a lot of doors, particularly for people who have a disability. You know yourself, the same reason you're in college is to get a better job. Our office also receives a federal grant, a U.S. Department of Education TRIO grant, and that allows us to provide extra support services to students at Ramapo College. And it's the hope that these support services will increase the graduation rate and therefore decrease the unemployment rate.
From what you noticed, how has the role of technology played a part in facilitating any day-to-day living in either a general sense or specifically if any technologies you know about?
I think it's helped tremendously. You know, for example, people that are blind are now able to use what are called screen readers. Because can you imagine being blind and trying to navigate a computer?
Right, of course.
With Windows? But now there's computers that can actually read the screen to you. And then you use keyboard strokes rather than your mouse to access the internet, answer email, all of those things. So that's been fabulous. And these technologies have also helped students with learning disabilities. Like, let's take someone who's dyslexic, for example. There's programs out there that will actually read your books to you, because now we can get books digitally, like a CD, and the computer technology will read the book to you. So you can see it on the screen, but you can hear it auditorily, and you can highlight and take notes and all kinds of stuff. So if you're dyslexic, and reading for you is really time-consuming and it's so choppy that it interferes with your comprehension, something like that is really cool. We actually just got something for our office that I think is really, really cool. It's called a Smart Pen. And some students have difficulty listening to a professor speak and taking notes. They get lost. They're not really comprehending what the professor's saying because they're busy writing. So these pens have a tape recorder on them. And first of all, you get a special book, or you have to write on special paper. And at the bottom of the page will be like a stop, a start, a pause button, skip forward. So you take your pen and you would hit play. The pen would start to record whatever's being said. And as you write, like if you were using a sport pen now and you missed a word, later on when you're reading back your notes or listening to the lecture, you take your pen and you press it on that word, it rewinds the pen to that word. So if you just skip the word, you don't have to listen to the whole lecture again. It will like rewind. So, I teach sociology. So sociology is a scientific study. Oh, what did that professor say? Sociology is what? Press that word and the pen goes right to it. So these things have, all these different types of technologies, I think, really computers, I guess, have done, major. But there's other technologies like the college having automatic doors is usually helpful to someone like myself who's a wheelchair user. Because I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but when you manually push, opening a door, you're always in your own way. So you got to get close enough to reach and pull, but then you can't pull because you're holding the door open with your arm. It's a problem. So automatic doors, stuff like that is really great. I drive with hand controls, which is a great technology, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to drive. So yes, I think technology has played a huge part, but technology, there's technologies that's used in the home, there's technology that's used for classroom stuff, even like medical technology could play a part in this as well in terms of having people live longer. People with disabilities is the largest minority group in the country because it cuts across every demographic. It cuts across race and cuts across gender and culture and ethnicity and all that. And now with new medical technologies, people are surviving things they wouldn't otherwise survive.
Finally, if someone wanted to reach out and become an advocate or lend a hand, what could they do to help?
Every county has an office on the disabled, so that would be a place to start. Or if you're interested in a specific disability, you could just do like a Google search for, let's say you were interested in, like you wanted to help veterans, who became disabled, which, that's another population that you can imagine is growing. So you could Google the VA and see what hospitals in your area and just volunteer, call there. I don't even know what specific office you would call, but I would do Google searches on whatever type of disability you were interested in, and then there are self-help groups and that kind of thing.
And on campus, you guys, of course, have information that you could give to somebody if they were to come here and ask about.
Generally, we don't have that much volunteer service that's available. We do hire student aides to work in our office. We do hire people to serve as note takers. Sometimes we need people to be scribes, that kind of thing. But a general volunteer, it'd be difficult to find something steady for any volunteer to do. I would certainly could direct them to outside resources, but it would be hard to find stuff on campus. But what you can generally do in your everyday life is just always be welcoming, always, like, one of the biggest hurdles facing this population, especially the college year student, again, it's people who are, you realize they're different in some way, whether visibly or socially, is befriend that person. Everybody wants friends, regardless of what they may, what they may have, and I use that as a, I don't know how else to, whatever,
Right, sure.
disabled or not.
Thank you for answering all my questions.
You're welcome.
And help.
Oh, good, I'm glad.